From a ferry that caused a freak tsunami when it crashed into a Turkish scrapyard, and a rescue vessel in the North Sea that had to navigate monstrous waves, to a wild storm in Sochi, Russia that sent walls of water over the sea barrier, and a freak tsunami in Greenland that ravaged a tiny island village. Here are 15 scary tsunami and wave moments caught on camera. The Ganges River is a 1,500-mile waterway rising in the Himalayan mountains and flowing to the Bay of Bengal. It's India's most important body of water, with its basin supporting hundreds of millions of people. On March 28th of 2023, bystanders in the Indian megacity of Kolkata, the city formerly known as Calcutta, watched a massive tidal wave roar up the Ganges. It's the kind of wave that doesn't look too scary until it's right on top of you. Tidal bores like this clearly draw a crowd to the Ganges River, though it's not the kind of water you'd want to go play in. Even though the Ganges is a religious symbol and critical to life in India, it is among the most polluted bodies of water on Earth. The most toxic source of pollution is perhaps the least visible. Millions of gallons of raw, untreated sewage flow into the Ganges every day. You'd never know unless you stumbled upon a drainage canal near one of the major cities. While this tidal wave is surely impressive, it's hard to ignore what else might be in the water. A similar scene occurred in Kolkata on April 10th of 2020. In fact, it seems like this clip was filmed only a few hundred feet away from the first tidal wave. That looks like the same pier, though we can't know for sure. Locals gathered to watch this tidal bore travel down the Ganges River. They were about to learn how destructive one of these waves can be. The wave made quick work of the pier, but at least it didn't wash it away. Hopefully, some workers could get out there and put it back in place. According to reports, this wave occurred after several days of heavy rain. Now that makes sense, considering how tidal bores are known to form. They occur along a coast where the river empties into a large body of water. In this case, it's the Bay of Bengal. Basically, tidal bores are strong tides that push upriver against the current. They get bigger as the river narrows. Changes in depth, which can happen due to heavy rain, also affect their size. If you zoom in on Greenland, you'll notice dozens of tiny islands surrounding the larger landmass. One of those islands, located in the Karat Fjord, houses the tiny fishing community of Nuugaatsiaq. They sit on a thin peninsula overlooking Baffin Bay. On June 17th of 2017, they made international headlines after a tsunami nearly washed the village away. It all started when a massive landslide on one of the fjord's steep slopes fell into the water. Millions of tons of rock plunged into the water. It was so intense that it registered as a 4.1 magnitude earthquake on nearby seismometers. The displacement caused water levels to rise nearly 300 feet, about 20 miles from town. While the wave shrunk significantly as it reached Nugatsiak, it was still big enough to cause catastrophic damage. It looked like the water was about to recede. Our two fishermen probably thought they were in the clear, but the sea had other ideas. This is another one of those situations where you don't realize how dangerous it is until the water is right on top of you. Thankfully, our fishermen were able to escape the wave. They did get a little wet, though. When the tsunami landed, it wiped away 45 structures, including 11 houses. Footage from elsewhere in the community showed how easily the water destroyed people's homes and livelihoods. The landslide that triggered the tsunami was truly enormous. Between 1.2 and 1.8 billion cubic feet of rock broke free from the cliffside and fell into the fjord. Even after everything calmed down, locals in the affected villages couldn't return home, assuming their homes were still standing. They had to relocate until experts determined the area wasn't at risk for more landslides. Unfortunately, it was. In October of 2020, Greenland extended the closure of Nugatsiak and part of the fjord until further notice. The Ostend Spirit was a 26,000-ton ferry operating out of the UK. It used to be owned by the English ferry company P&O Ferries and had been traveling around the UK since 1987. Back in the day, she used to be called the MS Pride of Calais. But these boats tend to change names whenever someone new buys them. The Ostend reached the end of its life in April of 2013. The company she was sailing for, Trans-Europa Ferries, went bankrupt and couldn't pay their workers. So they decommissioned the Ostend and sent the ferry to its final destination, a scrapyard in eastern Turkey. What you're about to see was done 100% on purpose.
Tsunami resmen tsunami yaptı.
Now that's what we call a perfect execution. The captain had one simple job: steer the boat toward the scrapyard and thread the needle between two other ship husks. The further up he crashed, the better. That's because it's way easier to salvage a ship for parts while it's on land. Running aground is also cheaper than cutting it in the ocean and using barges to drag the pieces out. Ship salvaging is a booming business in Aliaga, Turkey. It apparently took hundreds of workers several months to rip the Ostend Spirit apart. Poseidon's Rage is a giant wave pool at Mount Olympus, a Greek-inspired theme park in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. The $7 million wave pool has been in operation since 2007. Thrill seekers from across the state come to ride one of its monster 9-foot waves. But some people underestimate how big 9-foot waves are. You would think seeing one every 90 seconds would give you a good idea. On a hot afternoon in August of 2017, a group of tourists experienced the wrath of the gods firsthand. The poor girl in pink had no idea what to expect. Something similar happened at the Yulong Shuyun Water Park in Longjing, China, near the border with North Korea. This time, a mechanical failure spawned a wave that was way bigger than it was supposed to be. More dangerous, too. When we slow the clip down, you can see people tumbling around in their pool floats. The Tsunami wave pool was promptly shut down to investigate what happened. There were rumors that the operator was drunk and caused the accident, but park officials quickly denied it. The Superstar Aquarius was a $240 million cruise liner last owned by a Hong Kong-based company called Star Cruises. Unfortunately, the company went bankrupt after shutting down during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Superstar was sold for scrap in 2022. Before the end, the Superstar had been cruising around the world since 1993. On August 8th of 2015, she proved how agile a big cruise ship can be when she had to outrun a typhoon off the coast of Taiwan. Needless to say, the passengers on board weren't having a good time.
But the problem is the gold mine is becoming out. Yeah.
But it doesn't move.
So far, Captain not, but because it was the paint trap and the hydroblast was put together. So,
On average, waves out in the open ocean only get about 6.5 feet high. Only a handful of waves will top 20 feet on a calm day. But storms are a whole other ballgame. When the wind picks up, the waves can double, triple, or even quadruple in size. That was the case when Typhoon Sodalor formed off the coast of China in the summer of 2015. We believe this is the storm that Superstar was trying to outrun, as it's the only one that lines up with the dates. The storm formed deep in the Pacific Ocean on July 28th and arrived in the Taiwan Strait a little over a week later. De Hoop Shipyard in the Netherlands has been designing and building ships since 1889. That makes them one of the oldest shipbuilding companies in the country. They build massive vessels for customers worldwide, including this 2,100-ton supply ship for the UAE. The SNAD 224, now operating as the ADNOC 224, set sail on October 31st of 2015. The 213-foot supply vessel was built for the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. It was actually the fourth built out of a 10-ship order. A ship launch at Dahoop usually attracts a crowd. You'd think at least a few of these people would be prepared to get wet. By our count, we only spotted 2 people with proper footwear. Maybe this was everyone else's first major ship launch. The SNAD 224 was hailed as the design of the future. Dahoop said it met the highest international class notations within both operational and environmental objectives. We assume that's shipbuilding slang for it's the perfect boat. When you think of cruise ships, you probably picture relaxing on deck, drinking fun cocktails, and basking in the Caribbean sun. But not all cruises are 100% rest and relaxation, not if the ocean has anything to say about it. Just ask the passengers on board the Anthem of the Seas, a Royal Caribbean liner that got caught in a Christmas Day storm. It was December 25th of 2021. The cruise ship was supposed to dock in Florida when a powerful storm derailed their plans. While the wide shot of the ocean doesn't look too bad, wait till you see what those waves do to the pool. If you look closely, you can see a few dedicated Browns and Packers fans watching the Christmas Day game on the big screen. While big ships are built to withstand stormy seas, it doesn't mean the items and passengers on board are 100% safe. Some folks on board a ferry in the Baltic Sea learned that lesson the hard way on January 12th of 2019. Nobody wanted to let go of that railing. Meanwhile, you could hear loose objects falling and crashing all around them. It looks like a lamp shattered next to the man on the far left. Hopefully, he didn't touch any broken glass. According to the Finnish Meteorological Institute, a crazy winter storm struck in the Nordic area in early January of 2019. Winds on the Baltic Sea topped 93 miles per hour, about as fast as a Category 1 hurricane. Ilulissat, Greenland, is a small city on the country's west coast. It's home to about 4,600 people and 3,100 sled dogs. That's because dog sledding is an important piece of Greenlandic culture and a major tourist attraction. But sledding isn't the only thing tourists like to do when visiting this part of the world. Many like to come see the massive glaciers Greenland is known for. On the mainland, 80% of the surface area, or roughly 660,000 square miles, is covered in ice. According to NASA, more than 220 glaciers flow away from Greenland and into the ocean. Sometimes they roll and flip over, triggering massive, freezing cold tsunami waves like this one.
Se der bølgerne. Nu kommer det op her. Nu sprøjter det op lige om lidt. Hør, lige nu. Det der. Prøv at se bølgen. Ja. Hele vejen hen. Det der over ved huset.
Imagine standing on your porch and seeing that wave coming toward you. Those boaters out on the fjord are lucky they didn't capsize. In case you're wondering, surface water temperature in Greenland ranges from 30 degrees Fahrenheit in the north to 43 degrees Fahrenheit in the south. They don't have the kind of beaches you'd want to go swimming at. Sochi, Russia is a large resort city on the Black Sea. They're best known for hosting the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. That's the one when Russia got caught doping all their athletes. The living conditions were also terrible. One German photographer said workers and stray dogs were still walking in and out of under-construction media hotels. Long after the games ended, on December 1st of 2021, a freak storm on the Black Sea battered Sochi with massive waves. A few spectators filmed from their hotel balcony as water leaped the retaining wall and flooded the area. It looks like that water was well on its way to the road behind the hotel. We're not sure how much damage the storm caused, as information from Russia isn't easy to come by. According to the Environmental Defense Fund, overfishing is the single greatest threat to our oceans. It's when boats catch way too many fish in one haul. It depletes the breeding population, leaving the fish unable to recover. Overfishing also goes hand in hand with wasteful practices. Many overfished species wind up dead and discarded. So, when a fishing trawler catches so many fish that it's on the verge of sinking, you can't help but smirk. Mother Nature has a way of getting her revenge. These greedy fishermen off the coast of Indonesia learned how wrathful she can be. As the story goes, this boat caught so many fish that they weighed down the deck enough for waves to crash over the side. All that extra water added even more weight. Slowly but surely, the ship began sinking. You can already see where the lowest points are fully submerged. Thankfully, everyone had life jackets. A camera on board the sinking ship puts the harrowing experience in perspective. We think the ship had no other option but to race toward the nearest shore, hoping they didn't sink before reaching it. To keep everyone safe, the crew begins tying a series of ropes across the main deck. It eventually comes together like a web, and everyone hangs on for dear life. Like all other weather events, scientists can measure storms on the open ocean using a special scale. It's called the Beaufort scale, devised in 1805 by an Irish hydrographer named Francis Beaufort. Meteorologists use it to measure wind speed on a scale of 0 to 12, with 0 being perfectly calm and 12 being hurricane-force winds. It was May 24th of 2021. A Norwegian rescue vessel had an important job to do. Unfortunately, that meant sailing through storm-force 12 winds blowing over 70 miles per hour. The winds spurred massive waves out on the North Sea, which is already known for having some of the roughest waters on Earth. If things got any worse, this vessel might have needed its own rescue ship. Those waves crashed so hard that they sounded like multiple bombs were going off. Just when our cameraman thought he was in the clear, one final nightmare wave appeared over the bow. You can hear loose items falling all around him as that last monster wave crashes into the boat. Think of how big that wave had to be to casually break over the ship's bow. According to the Beaufort scale, storm force 12 waves can get over 46 feet high. The air fills with spray and sea foam, which severely impacts visibility. You won't see one of these monster waves until it's too late. Sayulita is a small coastal town in southwestern Mexico. It's about an hour north of Puerto Vallarta, one of the most popular resort cities in the country. Some vacationers will choose Sayulita over Puerto Vallarta to avoid the tourist-heavy crowds. Tyler is one of those vacationers. He and a buddy were enjoying a quiet time on the water when a rogue wave appeared out of nowhere. While it appeared harmless at first, the boat captain knew they had to get out of there.
Oh! I was wondering why you... Jesus. Look at that, Dave. Look at that. Tsunami? Really?
By definition, rogue waves are at least twice the size of all other surrounding waves. They're extremely unpredictable and still baffle scientists today. Sailors have called them walls of water on the open ocean. But, as seen in this video, they can spawn much closer to shore. For the longest time, rogue waves were considered sailors' myths, like Davy Jones and the Kraken. They've only been accepted as real in recent decades. But because they're so random, tracking and measuring them is impossible. Glacial calving is when chunks of ice break off at the end of a glacier and fall into the water. The resulting chunk of floating ice is what we call icebergs. Glacier enthusiasts will flock to places like Greenland, southern Chile, and Alaska to watch these magnificent ice walls shed their outer layer. But if you're not careful, you could get caught in a tsunami wave caused by a calving glacier. On January 1st of 2013, locals in the Greenlandic town of Uummannaq learned what happens when too much ice falls into the water.
Nah.
The calving event sent multiple tsunami waves rushing toward this small harbor. One thing's for sure, whoever secured that boat can tie one heck of a knot. Oh, fun fact about Danish and Greenlandic culture. The children believe that Santa Claus lives in Uummannaq and gets his mail at the local post office. The North Sea is a 220,000 square mile body of water between the UK, Denmark, Norway, Germany, the Netherlands, France, and Belgium. Geopolitically, it's among the most important bodies of water in human history. It gave rise to the Vikings, the Hanseatic League, and the Dutch Republic. It was also Germany's only outlet to the open ocean during both world wars. The waves are known to get choppy out on the North Sea. On July 12th of 2014, a tanker called the MT Volgastern learned how rough the waves can get. Imagine watching waves flood the lower deck. Your mind immediately defaults to the Titanic and whether or not you'd fit on any doors. From what we can gather, the Volgastern was built in 1999 in the port of Gdynia in Poland. It's currently managed by a Russian oil company and operates in the Black Sea. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, then be sure to click the link on screen now. As always, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.